Welcome to the F099 Power Rankings. This is where I'm going to go over the different type of lobbies and how each machine performs in these lobbies. So starting off first here is the one Skyway dead lobby, and this is the typical you join a random 99 or a pro lobby and there just isn't a whole lot of people there. So, it may just be a few. I mean, there's been times where it's been 1 versus 1, or I'd even count like 20, still pretty much a dead lobby. You'll just scrounge around for those sparks, if any. So that's kind of the difference there. So maybe that's a one Skyway, maybe that falls in the dead lobby category. Starting here first with Wild Goose at a 68, which is actually the lowest in this category. So Goose does suffer the dead lobby problem. So it starts kind of slow, slower than Golden Fox and Blue Falcon, and that could be just enough to lose the race. Because in these dead lobbies, if you're not playing for a Skyway and you're just front running and you start behind, you're playing against people who are good time attackers. That's essentially what it is. And also the problem with that is first place generally has the advantage on the bumper patterns. So now you start behind and get worse bumper patterns. So it's kind of it just puts Goose at a disadvantage that a lot of times it can't overcome. But this can be mitigated with the Skyway. So if it's a one Skyway lobby where you could pick up sparks from the slower opener, then you'll actually pass up the Fox and the Blue Falcon. So if they spring ahead and get the fastest opener they possibly can, and you're just sitting there collecting sparks on your opener, and maybe just it takes you a lap, maybe two, and you just kind of like reserve your boost a little bit, that Skyway would be enough to overtake them eventually. So that's kind of one of the plays you have to make in kind of the RTS strategies with the slower starts. So Goose can do that and win, but in a pure dead lobby, Goose most likely is going to be the worst. And with Fox and Falcon, you kind of have the variables to your advantage. Like if you see they're going to be possibly a one Skyway situation, you don't have to start as fast as you can. You can just kind of do a sandbagging and collect sparks along the way. And just hope you don't do too much sandbagging. So that's kind of the game here. And for Golden Fox, a score of 89, tying with Fire Stingray. So I had a really tough time deciding where I should put Fox. Is it even above Stingray? Because it has Fox dominant courses like Mute City 4 or Mute City 1. And it has the Sandstorm 2. So there are courses where it's just the front run for Fox. But Stingray has its courses. It's famous for Sand Ocean. But there is still negatives there. If you get a slow start on Sand Ocean with Fire Stingray, and maybe you get hit back and into the wall and need to waste a boost, that might be enough to lose. Where Fox on Fox courses, you start in front. You don't have to deal with those variables, and you could just front run the whole time. But Fox does have its disadvantages. There's courses where it's pretty much the worst. Like on Mute City 3, you're going to have a tough time. I mean, sure, you can get just front run out there and get a decent time, but anyone who's good at the spark plate line is going to destroy you with the other machines. And then there's pro courses, which are kind of a mixed bag. Stingray is known for being the best at pro courses, but doesn't mean it's an automatic win, because there is courses where Stingray's just not the best. I mean, there's Deathwind 2, that's a hindrance to Stingray. Fox and Falcon will destroy you there. They'll get 202 if they have a really solid run. And then there's Whiteland 1. That's a front run course. You're not going to pick up sparks there. But in Mirror Whiteland 1, that's where Stingray can get spark plates. So kind of does bounce back and forth, although I do think Stingray has the overall advantage with pro courses. And for Blue Falcon, a score of 77. So Falcon here automatically gets a higher score than Goose because it's better openers, and that matters a lot. But I guess I kind of had a tough time assessing Falcon, for all the courses, because, there's just so many combinations of stuff can happen. I would have to play every machine in every type of scenario possible for these dead lobbies and one Skyway lobbies. And just based on gameplay, I feel like this is kind of in the ballpark of where Falcon would be. It's going to get beat out on the Stingray courses, and Fox will beat it on the Fox front run courses, but it can still beat Goose because of the better openers. And Falcon's pretty solid on some tracks on just front running. Like it's a good competitor even on some Fox tracks. Just it'll get beat out in Mute City 4 and Mirror Mute City 1 because the kind of Fox just kind of is in a constant state of boost on those. But some other front running courses, Falcon's just solid. And I've mentioned the openers a lot, so let's actually go take a look to see what they look like. So this website here has all the tracks and openers. And for the 99 races and pro tracks, there's actually 2 different runways you can get. And while in the GP, it'll be just one of them available. So let's take a look at this one. So they have names, Boost Circular, and this one's kind of the same, a little bit different layout, but essentially the same type of pattern. And that's how you can make a decision too, and of what to do. So if you have a layout like this, and you're just getting in a funnel here, you could sit behind the CPUs, and even then they'll draw sparks. And then the same one, you got the Boost Circular here, a little bit different, got some brackets, a little bit different layout. And then you start getting ones where you don't want to farm for sparks. So these jump over ones are very bad for sparks. Anything with a crisscross is you're just limiting the spark layout, and there's really no funnel going on. So you'll want to front run out of this, especially even dead lobby. Maybe there's like a borderline one Skyway lobby. If you have a group of good players, you can generate some sparks along the way. But generally, Sand Ocean with this crisscross pattern, you're not looking at getting any Skyways in a true dead lobby. And Deathwind 1 here, so you can actually pick up the Skyway here with Stingray. So even on this one, it's not as good, I don't think, but you still funnel out. It's just sometimes Stingray starts too far back, and then you can just lose by default that way. And there shouldn't be ones for Silence. And it's kind of the same pattern here. So you get the usual runways here. And let's jump into a pro track. So now you kind of have another pattern like this where you're not funneling. So on this one, you do not want to farm for sparks. It's just not going to happen. And the problem too with Whiteland 1 is the rest of the track is also really bad for picking up sparks. So everyone's just going to be separated, and you're just going to fall back more and more if you try to sandbag. So you just really have to front run your best out of it. But in this mode, you can start this way, and if there's enough players, you can get that one Skyway. But it's still tough on Whiteland 1. And then another one is Port Town 2. When you get this pattern, it's just, you pretty much have to front run. It's another course where I've had to learn the hard way. I'd try to zigzag through this and taking wide turns to gather sparks like you would in the GP. And it works when there's players because there's a trail of sparks. But once it's in a dead lobby, you waste 10 seconds just trying to pick up sparks. And even then, it's just sometimes you'll use if you do get a Skyway, you'll get it, and you're still 4 seconds behind because it just took you so long to get the Skyway. So, and Red Canyon 2, pretty much you just have the front run with every machine. It's just a bad course for dead lobbies for sparks. There's no funnel sparks. Everyone gets separated. So just front run out of there. And there's some possibilities. An ace here. It is possible to get sparks on Mute City 4. If it's not truly dead, you can get the one Skyway, especially if you're slow start, even Goose, and you could potentially work your way out of a miserable situation there. Stingray, a lot of miracle of sparks and just being in the perfect position for you to pretty much beat any other machine. And Sandstorm 1 I found to be kind of complicated. A lot of times you do have to front run, but it is possible to get the sparks here out of these two, the motocross. You can see in the jumps here. So it can happen depending on lobby. If you just get enough players where there's some sparks, you can get the trickle and then, get a Skyway eventually. In this track, it's really strong. And that's one of the also factors that go into it. It's like, is there a strong Skyway on your course? And some courses, like even if you do get a Skyway, the sandbagging might not be good enough because the course doesn't have like the Skyway here at the last turn notch that carries you all the way around, to the corner there, which is just like, that cuts a lot more time than it would on other courses with mediocre Skyways. So you gotta base your decisions off that too. And there's some courses like Big Blue 2 is kind of interesting. I think it's pretty much just a front run, even though you kind of have a funnel there. Like you can get Skyways there, but I mean, I don't know. I found it difficult. But if you do have time, it is possible if you get the right lobby. If it's like a one Skyway lobby and it's not too dead, and then you do get a good Skyway, then it's worth it. Otherwise, it does turn into a front run course. And Sandstorm 2, I found it to be really difficult to get Skyways. So, I mean, that's kind of the gist of things for these openers on these tracks. So you got to make some decisions based on how many people are there, what machines people are. So there's a lot of RTS going into this, and you really have to know what type of lobby you're in, who's in. Like it doesn't matter how many players sometimes, like it matters who is there. So if there's like 10 really good players, there's going to be more collisions, than players if there's just 10 random players, but they're lower levels because they won't really be in the mix of things. So there's a lot of factors going into the RTS. I've completely butchered a bunch of runs when this new Elite rankings came out because I didn't really play this type of lobbies much, and I just made the wrong RTS decision. It was just like you get so far behind if you make the wrong decisions. It's crazy. And if you make the wrong RTS decision, you're going to lose these races. It doesn't matter how good you are or how good your cuts are. If you sandbag when you shouldn't have, or front run when you shouldn't have, like you're going to end up losing to anyone who makes the, right decisions, even with, worse racing, because like you can lose seconds to this stuff. So really, as the game is to sandbag as least as possible to get enough sparks for a Skyway. And so you can't just like sit in the very back and get a Skyway. The front runner will, you'll never be able to catch up then. So it's a different type of game mode here. It's not 99 player mayhem. It's a game of inches. Now let's go off to the races to see how this plays out. The first race here, Mute City 3, Misa on a Stingray, and Mengsk as a Fox. And this was during the Frozen time, so we get the Frozen Mute City 3 here. And you can see right away, we're both playing in the pack, but as Fox, normally you can start in the front, but I intentionally sandbagged the opener to get sparks here. And slowly building up the Skyway, not really getting much sparks yet, but still playing through the pack. Kind of a lucky PKO there. It doesn't really matter too much because I'm still conserving energy, so I'm not just boosting away after it. It's nice to have the extra energy though. And Misa's been front running, so he's in second. Now I'm coming behind with almost a full meter now. Now's the time. Got to boost all the way and hope some sparks come along. And there it is. And the extension. Making sure to hit Misa from behind right on the turn. And I was able to take it. And that's how close these races are. If everything doesn't come together at the right time, you're going to lose these races. And let's check out another race here. So this will be on Sand Ocean, Kalt with the Falcon, and Mengs with the Stingray. And this will be on the Chicane opener, 21 players in the lobby. So no one going for the sandbag to get sparks. And I was lucky enough with the Stingray is I didn't get bad front bumps, so I got a good start here, even ahead of Falcon. And I'm going to boost right away, so you want to make distance as early as possible. And Kalt making a strong play there with the boost, and it did mess me up. So now Kalt is ahead of me. I have to deal with this. So you constantly get sent backwards from front bumps. And then another Stingray in the mix. Luckily on Sand Ocean, you have this S-turn where you can gain on other machines. They can't maintain their top speed. Kalt is really going all out here. Trying to farm back bumps from me there. Luckily I was able to get a sneak ahead. Now let's have to dodge some blues on the final lap. If you get hit by one of those, it's probably race over. Kalt having trouble. Yeah, so I mean, I was able to sneak past him, but you know, when there's just a lot of them and they're unpredictable sometimes, and you just can't get past them sometimes. And that's enough to take it with the Stingray, which I should win on this course with Stingray, but like how things go, sometimes if I was the victim of the blue, I mean, Kalt could have still snuck past me, even with Falcon. On to the next race. So this will be Speedlund playing as Stingray, and Big Blue wins the vote. So this will be a smaller lobby. Kind of one we more refer to as a dead lobby. Now let's see how he plays it. So starting in the back rows, Stingray is always a disadvantage. But luckily with this start, you can still get that zipper after the first jump, and while not starting in first place, this is still a winnable position, especially for Big Blue with Stingray. And no sandbagging here. Really is just trying to get to the front as quick as possible. You want to reduce the amount of collisions you take to chip you down, and just all the hazards that comes with it. So ready in first place. Now let's just fast forward it, 3 times speed. It's just a front run with Stingray here, so there's not much to really analyze. But the whole point of this front run is to see what time Stingray gets here. So if you sandbag, you lose time. I mean, you can compare it to what time you'd get without a sandbag, and that's something you need to know. So let's see what the total time is. So it's a 2:05. And let's see it there. Yep, 2:05. So that's what you have to get. Now let's go into the other Big Blue that comes up a lot. Mere Big Blue 1. So this will be Speedlund playing a Stingray again, and we're going to see what kind of run he does here. And this is important because on near courses, now there's spark plates. And you can use that to get your Skyway regardless of sandbagging. So barely gathering any sparks up here in the opener. But utilizing the spark line there for sparks each lap. And Mirror Big Blue is kind of a anomaly, as it's really competitive between all the machines. Fox can just front run, and the same with Falcon. And I think Goose is slightly behind, but Stingray here has the advantage of using that Spark Row. There's a little mess up back there, but we'll see him still collect the sparks each lap. And there's a good one. And now he's in a basically perfect position to get a 4th lap Skyway. Using as much boost as possible. He only needs one more boost. That can be really tricky right there. That getting into the 3rd and 4th lap trying to do that spark trick there, you can put yourself in trouble. And there's the breakaway. Because he's in front, he got the better red pattern. And there's a win. So not a perfect race, but that's how you do it with Stingray. And this is a really competitive course. So you're going to need a good time. A lot of times 2:02. And now for a different type of matchup. Fox versus Fox. So we went over it before, Fox can be really strong in these dead lobbies. So there's going to be no Skyway in this lobby, it's just going to be a front run. And unfortunately for me, I started in the back row. And with that, you have to deal with oncoming hits like that. You get front bumped. And I even had a perfect second rail cut there, not losing any speed, but James is still ahead. On this course, that's a big problem. So now we're basically being in sync, so it's basically a time attack now. And if you aren't familiar with James, he's one of the best time attackers with many world records. So good luck catching up on him on a course like this. And there's a big problem with being in second place, especially on a course with certain type of bumper patterns. I got cut off there, and you can see my distance is increasing. And another bumper was kind of in the pathway of a better rail cut, so I just keep getting further and further back here. And all I can hope for at this point now is he gets carried away and gets some bots interfering with him. Potentially even not even making that jump with that blue interaction. And this is where the bots can mess you up. Kind of over for me. I lost anyways, but at least I didn't die. And that's how easy it is just to lose a dead lobby. Someone just gets a better start than you, and it's kind of like you have the disadvantage and there's nothing you can do. And on to the next race. We got a small lobby here of 23. And we're going to go to Big Blue 2. So there's looks like there's a handful of really good players here. So now will this change how you start the race? Will you do a sandbag or just go for the front row? So Netoa here opts for the sandbag. And now becomes the hard part, is how much do you sandbag? And you really don't want to have to waste any energy getting out of it. So is this like the correct spacing? Or do you want to be further up? So you don't want to be too far back, because then your Skyway is kind of negated. So almost a Skyway at the end of the first lap already. Quickly gets a boost out so he doesn't get the Skyway there. And usually you end up picking up a loose spark around there. Nothing yet. Squeezes in one more boost, and now he can get the double jump Skyway, which is the best Skyway here. Landing right on Nag there. And let's see if this can take it to the end. Conserving a boost. Serving another boost there, and will it be enough to take it? And second place, because a lot of times what happens in power down mode, this game can't really determine where the players are, so on your screen you win, but not in netcode 99. Still strong race from both players. And the next race, look what we got there. A rematch, a 1 vs 1 Netoa vs Nag on Deathwind 2. Netoa on a Fox now, in the best starting position on Deathwind 2. Let's travel down with the wind and take the good zippers on the side. And you can see the red dot trailing. So it's just an advantage of the opener spot there. Very clean drive in there. And matchups like this are really where time attack comes into play, because, I mean, it's time attack basically now with some bumpers, but most of these bumpers aren't going to play a factor, except, you know, when a blue drops right in front of a zipper. Pretty much perfect turns on all 4 laps here. Luckily no more blues down the path. And a very, very strong time here from Netoa. So this is where Fox and Falcon had one of their biggest advantages. a 202, and Falcon's also really strong and is going to get 202 as well. Let's go into the next race. So this one has more than 50 people. So it's not in the dead lobby category. And even with 50 people, a lot of times you can get 2 Skyways. So let's see how this fits into the 1 Skyway lobby. Netoa playing Stingray here. So each machine on Mirror Mute City 2 kind of has its own unique strategy. And with Stingray here, based on the start, he's just going to gun it and go for the 1 Skyway strategy. You just want to get as far ahead as possible here. Unfortunate timing. He has to hold the Skyway for a better spot. Because when you're using the spark pad line, you just want to keep that speed and then use the Skyway here. And I get to utilize the spark line again. And this course is kind of a duel between Stingray and Fox. Both machines kind of have a different strategy. Fox just straight up front runs. They don't even go for the spark line. You know, it's not really a thing with Fox. And then Stingray has to do their spark line strategy with 1 Skyway. And they equal up out to the same time. So Netoa here with a 154. And that's really the target time you want to get with Fox and Stingray. And let's take a look at another Fox one. 24 players. And that will be on Sandstorm 1. So Netoa here. 24 players, Sandstorm 1, what do you do? Drive into the dirt. So, just stalling out and positioning himself to pick up sparks. And let's see what the pacing will be here like. So he's not really trying to get sparks kinda yet, just slowly, but not too much. And that's where Fox is good. Like, you can just keep boosting and position yourself better. And then refill back up. So with how separated everyone here is, you're not going to really pick up any sparks. Unless the Skyway happens, because there's not really any collisions happening here. There it is. And now he's holding it, even with Fox. And he opens up the different map, so the full map view, and he's timing it. So slow down into here so you can get the full extension. And that's one of the things that makes Netoa great, is his ability to read the race like that. And just slow down a little bit to get a significant extension right there. Going into Red Canyon 2 with Falcon. This is full color here. You can see there he's swerving out to pick up more sparks. But this is a chicane start, so no more sparks are coming. So now it's a huge problem. You've intentionally sandbagged when there's not going to be sparks for the rest of the race. And you can see the distance between him and first is pretty much what he gave up on the opener. He wasted like over a second doing that swerve there. It doesn't really seem like much, but you know, that's the distance now. So let's fast forward a bit. Let's see where it gets him. You're kind of just locked in position here. Everyone's just, you know, going the same speed, doing the same stuff, and you're not making any ground. And let's check out this fourth lap in normal speed. Kind of getting stuck in bad patterns here. Reserving a boost, maybe trying to fish for back bumps. But it's over. I'm taking his frustrations out in that player. But that's what it is. You kind of just get locked into where you're at. You can't make any ground on the leader, and the leader's actually getting easier bumper patterns, and you just lose the race because, you know, the RTS of the opener, you're not going to get your sparks in Skyway. Now let's go back to RC2 again. This time Nag is playing Falcon, and we're going to see what it looks like when he doesn't do a sandbag on this opener. It's cutting between the rail and the dirt. And now let's pay attention to see when he crosses the line. Let's look at the time difference between the two openers. So full color on the left has an opener of 1830 and Nag on the right of 1670. And that's a big difference. So just that little swerve he took to maybe try to pick up sparks, then realize it's not happening, that was enough to lose the race. Now for Wild Goose. So this is a small 16-person lobby on Mere Port Town 2. Let's see what the opener is. There's always a selection of 2. And we got the good one for sparks. So this one I will be getting a Skyway. And just stay behind a little bit. Now everyone just funnels in and you can collect sparks. And sometimes you don't even want to boost there. I figured I would use it there and I'd have enough to pick up my Skyway. I guess not quite yet. So no first lap Skyway. But I should be able to pick up some sparks along the way. So there are some racers around me. Miss those drop sparks. There's some fighting going on, so potentially pick up some sparks, but unfortunately now everyone's getting kind of knocked backwards. And there's a Skyway. And it's nice sometimes to get the later Skyway, like second, third, or fourth lap, just because of bumper patterns and Skywaying over them. And at that time, sometimes on other courses you get the extensions. But on a course like Mere Port Town 2, the first lap Skyway is where you're going to be launching with the other Skyways. So unless you're in gigantic distance, you're not going to be able to Skyway from a further back distance. And that's why on a course like this, like sometimes you just want to force the first lap Skyway and then race as fast as possible. Because then first place is generally going to have the bumper pattern you're familiar with, and it's usually a better bumper pattern. And at this point, you're starting to realize there's no hope. You're not going to get your last sparks, and you're not going to ever get that Skyway to catch first place. So I feel like normally people would have skywayed over me. There was a few other players who were elites, and for some reason just none of them really skywayed. Only Bumpus with Stingray there got ahead, and he just destroyed us all. Whatever happened for the rest of us, just it didn't work out. And so that's kind of how the 99 pro lobbies work when they're in a smaller number of players. And this is something I kind of ignored all through like pretty much the whole time of playing 99. I mostly just played on the weekend around events, so I didn't really experience much smaller lobbies. So I'm in the learning curve myself, and kind of what maybe want to make this video and kind of analyze some other people's gameplay to see what they're doing. And let's go into 2 Skyway lobby. So this one is kind of a common lobby. I don't really want to call it a 959 lobby because those vary so much. Like during the weekday, it's a 959 can be actually a dead lobby, and on the weekend it could be an insta fill. So this is kind of like 2 Skyway lobby is its own thing, and it's essentially it doesn't have to be a 2 Skyway lobby. Like sometimes how the dead and 1 Skyway lobby are kind of could be like interchangeable. And for this one, it's like you can get 2 Skyways, and that's like, you know, where you couldn't in the more dead lobbies. And this is where you can kind of play around more with Wild Goose. So I kind of call it adventure mode with Goose, and like if you can start in the back and then start having strategic farming. So you have that bailout now of extra sparks and Skyways, or the 2 Skyways. So especially in a GP, you could play around in Mute City. You could like drive outside the refiller, farm those grays, go completely out of your way to get more grays, but then recover with a Skyway. And this is kind of where it's in the Goldilocks zone is it's not like a super stacked lobby, so you can actually catch back up to the front. Whereas like you can't start going in adventure mode when you're in the hardest lobbies, you know, and those grays won't even be available to you. And now with more players in these lobbies, defense starts playing a bigger factor. It's like you can get glorped and stuff in the other lobbies, but it's not like a constant pressure on you, and you're not getting chipped down the whole time. We're in these 2 Skyway lobbies. You know, Goose has this is where the defense advantage kicks in. And, you know, just a lot of bad things happen because of, you know, whatever type of collisions happen to you. And Goose negates all of that. And another reason I give it such a high score in these 2 Skyway lobbies, you know, is just super consistent with his attributes. It's like you're not going to always win races. It's not necessarily the best machine, like hardly ever for a track. It's not like a course specialist, like sometimes how Fox and Stingray can be. But it just like keeps winning and does well. Like you just score really high, and it's hard to do bad with it. So a lot of times it's, you know, the problem I personally have with a lot of these like 2 Skyway Grand Prix is like 4 good races just isn't good enough. If you flop a race and you drop like an extra 40 points, like that's a loss, you know, in these 2 Skyway lobbies, because you need a pretty high score for these type of lobbies. You can't get away with getting the low 900s like the higher stacked lobbies. So you need 5 really good races, and I think Goose just has the best opportunity to always get 5 really solid races. And now for Fire's Stingray, I kind of think it might be the second best machine in these lobbies because of its versatility, and it could turn it into a 1 Skyway lobby and into a breakaway. So you kind of have to be a Stingray specialist to know how to do this. This is where I personally struggle, but when it happens, like, you feel like you're like, how am I like in this race with all these good players and no one could catch me? It's like this strange feeling like the Stingray can pull off where you're just like, you can't believe that no one could catch you. And if you're a Stingray specialist, then you should still be able to, win these lobbies, the 2 Skyway ones where you just use 1. And where I think Stingray loses points is now with the 2 Skyways being possible, that means there's a lot of collisions happening. So with Stingray, defense is a big problem, and especially with how Stingray works with its wide cornering. You have to take these, precise lines, and if someone knocks you off that, you're in big trouble. Like, either you'll just be completely knocked off your line, miss the zipper like on Deathwind 2, and that's pretty much race over there. And otherwise, you get turn locked. So that's something I've been trying to really work on negating, is trying to get out of the situations where you just get turn locked and then you just go straight headfirst into a wall. And sometimes you like have to boost out of it because you're just like completely smashed into the wall. So those are the difficulties of Stingray now once there's more players in the lobby. In Golden Fox at 70 here. So this is kind of hard to rate for me. It could be higher. A lot of why I give Fox a 70 is just its consistency. Like, Fox is just so difficult to finish a GP with 5 good races. It's not like it doesn't have high potential. It might even have the highest potential. But to do that, it requires such high level of play and consistency. It's just like you don't really see it from any player, not even the best players with Fox that still main Fox. So it just gets dinged a lot of points there for, having to deal with the elements, having to deal with all this spark management, the collisions, and everything that goes on. It just, Fox life is tough. In Blue Falcon, I give a 75. Kind of for the same problems that Fox has. It's just the consistency in collisions. And especially with Falcon, like, the front bumps just take me completely out of the race. I'm not sure if, like, I just have cursed netcode, but, like, those front bumps are so devastating. It's jarring. And, drops you down so much, and you just, like, can't recover. And, that problem just doesn't exist at all with Goose. And Falcon's not a bad machine at all. And, like, you can easily win these lobbies with Falcon. So maybe it's more of a me thing, but, it's the problems that happen. But when, Goose doesn't have that problem at all, it's like, well, I think Goose is just then obviously a much better pick. But if you're a Falcon specialist and you're somehow able to get around and all those front bumps and be able to utilize Falcon's strengths, Falcon can be a good choice. Especially, it's really good on Ace. I think it's really good on King as well. So there are places where I do like being Falcon. I've had really good success, but overall, like, then I go back to Goose, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Goose is just like this ultimate machine. So that's just how it kind of feels when, I switch between the machines. So that's how I feel about the machines in the 2 Skyway lobby. All very capable of winning. It's just a lot of times preference really of just like, are you machine specialists? But consistency is a huge factor for me. So let's go in more depth of how I break this down. So I have 5 categories here, and let's start with defense. So Goose, defense 100. It's pretty much unstoppable. Like, it's barely ever you get shifted around. There are times where Goose, though, like you can feel the crowd. But even there's been times, like even in the Galactic Grand Prix, where just like I'm not even bothered by the crowd. That's how like insanely good Goose's defense is. Every once in a random while, like you'll get shoved and be like, "What in the world just happened? I'm Goose." So that can happen. And Stingray here, I feel like it's just kind of has a little stability. Like you don't get knocked around as much, but it's just a problem of the way Stingray has to play, where it's a huge factor. Fox just gets completely ragdoll if you're not boosting. Like you're just if you're in a non-boost state, you get hit and you're in a big trouble. And Falcon, maybe I just have like this is why I think like, do I just have the worst netcode in the world? Like why do I get hit with Falcon and it's just like, a nuclear explosion and like I get sent flying across the course? So it just depends on the lobby or something. Sometimes with Falcon though, like you could sit in the pack and it feels like you're fine. You're not losing speed. You'll even get some back bumps, but really that's what takes me out. It's just like I try to drive and get sparks with Falcon and then I just get completely erased. And it's like, well, I'm not sure what I can do about that. So that's why sometimes this where Fox and Falcon now do steer assist, and it's like pretty much magic. Like it, not only don't you run into barriers, there's some kind of like secret like bubble you're in or something. It's weird. Like the hits interact differently. Going into the third category, control, and Goose here with 78. So Goose does have a problem with control a little bit, and it's just because of the sluggish cornering. And that can get you in trouble sometimes, especially around the sharp corners. So with Goose and around bumpers and sharp corners, if you can't make the cut, like if you're trying a cut through a gray on the inside and you can't fit in there with Goose, you'll get turn locked and just face plant the wall, and you'll probably get the boost out of there. It's like this whole disaster. You're losing energy, time, and it's that is a real problem with Goose. So it's obviously your fault for hitting a gray, but it's just Goose doesn't have the best attributes to make some of the cuts to do that. And with Fire Stingray, it's even worse because it has the widest turn radius, and a lot of times too it results in turn locking. So around corners, if you get back bumped at full speed, it could result in a turn lock, and that's also something that happens too if you're familiar with Mirror Sand Ocean. If you hit a spark line at full speed, it triggers turn lock. So those are like turn lock situations, and then you just face plant walls. And it's very hard to recover. You're lucky if you could back bump out of it. And otherwise, you just have to, in general, take awkward wide lines. Like a lot of times on chicanes, like the Red Canyon ones, like you have to, cut it wide. And if someone just like clips you where you get like that immovable wall feeling, like you just can't push them away, like you just you get destroyed. So stuff happens that with Stingray, which wouldn't happen with other machines because of the wide turn radius. And then there's courses like Firefield. With Stingray, you'd want to do the wall bonk to conserve your energy, but if someone back bumps you while you're doing that, they'll just smother you into the wall, and there's pretty much no recovering from that. Like that's a race ending hit there. So Stingray is just there's just a lot of moments where it's just tough to use because of its design of its turning. And for Fox, I have it at 90 because it really does have great control. I mean, its agility is like it feels like you could just squeeze through anywhere you want. Like when you're cruising with Fox and there's no one colliding into you and disrupting your driving, its handles really great. Kind of the problem I have with it is its non-boost state control, though. It's kind of flimsy, and I don't like its weak jumps and its low top speed. Like, it's so much better when you're in a boost state and hit it. Especially there's courses like Mirror Sandstorm 2 where you want to be in a boost state going over that jump. Otherwise, you're in, you can make it, but it's just you really want to go over in a boost state. And it's the same with Silence, 2. You should be doing the quad jump there anyways, but it's just something that with the control. It makes it a little more difficult. Like you have to have more precise inputs to do that jump well. So, but overall, I mean, Fox is, that's an advantage for Fox. It does have good control. And Falcon in the 96, pretty much close to perfect. There's not really much I could say that's bad about Falcon's handling. It fixes the problem with Fox. So where Fox feels flimsy, Falcon doesn't. It's just a really sturdy machine with, excellent agility. There's pretty much no flaw with Falcon's handling. That's its biggest attribute. And the fourth category is Sparks. So with Goose here, it's a perfect. I mean, not every race is going to be perfect with Sparks, but compared to the rest of the machines, it's perfect. And there's times with Goose, like, your meter fills up so fast, it's just, you can't believe it. You'll get a Skyway sometimes even before the race starts. It's just, it gets pretty absurd. And there's, like I said, there's dry spouts, and there's times where you feel like you're getting screwed. That might just be more of a netcode issue, or, just whatever RNG is in the game. But in general, just like using all the machines, it's day and night of how like the sparks work with getting with Goose between the other ones. It's just kind of what makes it too in the heavier lobbies, where a lot of times I get stranded with the other machines, but you could get carried with those Skyways with Goose. And with Stingray here with the sparks, I put it to second best. I wasn't really sure how to rate this. I feel like Stingray can sit and gather sparks well. It's just more of like, if it's in the wrong spot because, whatever circumstances is more of the issue than it's getting sparks, because it could sit in the pack and get sparks well. It's just like it has to be in the right position. So it's just kind of like harder to get the sparks in that regard. And Fox is just the hardest because it's bad to be boosting to collect sparks. A lot of times you just drive through them, and that's kind of Fox's game, is boosting. So, and being in the pack in a non-boost state with Fox is a death sentence a lot of times. So it's the hardest to get sparks with Fox. And Falcon, this is kind of the middle ground for me, because a lot of times I do have the glorp problem in the pack with Falcon, where you just get, for some reason, you just get knocked down to like 350, and like you get no back bumps, and everyone just drives through you, and you're just like, well, like, I don't feel like this was my fault, and I can't, do anything. You're not getting any sparks, and, it's just like, that's just like a factor in the spark accumulation, where that pretty much never happens with Goose, where you just get like some weird hit that causes you to like not absorb anything into the pack, where Goose is just like a magnet for these sparks. And for the fifth category, KOs, I have Goose at a perfect, because it's just the best at farming grays. It's just like, it has the least amount of consequences for it too. It just seems to work out for Goose the most, and it just utilizes its KOs the best. So everything about the KOs just benefits Goose so much. And you could take a lot of like chances with Goose. Like, you just boost into a gray, or sometimes you don't have to. I mean, the problem with boosting into gray sometimes is you have a greater chance of phasing through them where in their smoking state. And with netcode, who knows what's going on? Sometimes they just flat out disappear. So I mean, with Goose though, you could take a lot of chances with grays, and the payoff is great. Like I've won big lobbies, and really I can attribute it to the KOs I've gotten. And sometimes they're just spoon fed to you. Other times, like, you take your chances, and the payoff is really good. And with Stingray, Stingray is actually pretty good at farming KOs. You just have to know which ones to go for. A lot of times it's just on straightaways. Like a course that I feel like is underutilized in this aspect is Deathwind 2 with Stingray. There's a lot of straightaways, and there's really not much areas where you need to boost with Stingray. So if you just boost into a gray and pick up like 2 KOs on Deathwind 2, like that's a huge bonus to have. And I just wouldn't advise taking high risk plays with Stingray trying to get KOs on courses. With Fox, kind of known for its team battle ability of, picking up grays and all that. Just because you have the versatility of more boosts and all that stuff, and like you do get you get knocked around stuff from grays with Fox, but since you could take more chances with boosting and stuff, it's easier to snag them. But when it's ultra crowded, it's very tough to get into a gray with Fox just because it's a lightweight. And with Falcon, I feel like it's just I don't like how it plays the grays. Its repulsion gets absurd. Sometimes if you just hit a gray, you can't. The recovery is just too bad. So you have to, it's obviously you should get grays at the opportune time and not just sit on grays. That's just how you play in general. But I feel like Falcon just has the hardest time of breaking grays and getting clean hits on them. Now that we've gone over the attributes of the machines, let's see how these two Skyway lobbies play out. So this will be Daizen on Mirror Port Town 1 using Stingray. And per usual, starting near the back because of the jump starts. But this is actually really good positioning for Sparks. Holding the Skyway for the optimal Skyway spot. Pulls down on the Skyway. So he saw that Skyway would have took him too far and probably prevented him from getting the second Skyway. So that's kind of the option and stuff you have to do in these lobbies. If you get too good of a first Skyway, you can prevent yourself from getting a second one. And now he's in better position to use a strong Skyway. So a good RTS decision there by Daizen, and a third place. So you can't just always win every race. Someone's just going to have better positioning and timing, but optimizing what you got there and taking a third place is a really good race. On to the next race with Falcon here, played by Full Color. This is Mirror Mute City 1. In good position for Sparks. And pretty much the strategy for this is get the first lap Skyway. So not the earliest Skyway you could have gotten. 2 mine hits. Was able to get a Skyway to hit the zipper right when it launched. And falling in the refiller. So despite hitting 2 mines, he's back at full health. That's one of the advantages of Falcon, is there's actually recovery, and in Mute City there's the long refiller. So Falcon does have a good advantage there with recovery. And now he's in good position for the optimal Skyway. So launch into the zipper. Into the extension. Now you can pretty much just boost the whole 4th lap. And overtaking the Fox. And a first place, even with a shaky first lap. Onto Fox here, played by Misa. I'm also using steer assist. So on Big Blue with Fox, you need Skyways. This is one of Fox's worst courses. So immediately going into the pack, and you're getting a ton of sparks actually. So this is like above average spark accumulation. You're getting the first Skyway off with that extension. Now could this save his energy enough to refill? So full refill. And he still has to do it again. Because they wouldn't be able to front run out of that. People would have caught up. Now perfect timing for the good Skyway. And gives you that nice little extension. And now we can front run. Abusing the steer assist there. And there's a Fox first place on Big Blue. Now for Wild Goose on Mute City 2, played by Mengsk. And how I play this course is, basically I really hope for the circle Skyway right before the circle so you can get the extension. Let's see if I can get the sparks. So really good spark production. And there it is. That's the best first lap Skyway you could get. And now do I decide, do I want to boost or not? So this one I actually decided to hold a boost even though I could have boosted and regain my energy. So if you see where I'm at now, if I boosted, I wouldn't be getting any sparks. So now I'm kind of not really in the pack, but still kind of slowly building up sparks. Which is what you want to do in like the second and third laps. Because then it puts you in a really good position to get your fourth lap sparks, to get your Skyway. Then lucky enough to get off there and building up KOs. And since I have so much energy, I'm just going to Skyway right here because this gets the extension past the circle and I have plenty of health to boost to the end. So that's how much advantage getting that early Skyway gives you. I could pretty much done anything I wanted the entire race. You know, and I even could take some chances on the grays. And that's kind of how the 2 Skyway lobbies play out. So now you have the ability to get 2 Skyways where you didn't before. So now you need to plan for that, and if like you're too far ahead, like how Daizen was, he's like, you gotta pull back because he didn't have enough lead to front run from there, which, you know, Stingray can do, and a lot of times you could, you know, make a 2 Skyway, a 1 Skyway lobby for yourself. But, you know, when you judge a lobby and be like, this isn't good enough, you got to get back in the pack and get those sparks to get your second Skyway. And now going into Crack Cup and Gat Flan, kind of adjacent lobbies, although they do vary a lot. And Crack Cup during 1.6 was kind of just a weak lobby, so they weren't even filling. And so, you know, when you say like these lobbies are, you know, have a certain brand to them, it's just like even those vary. It used to be Crack Cup is insta-fill and you're going to have a sweaty lobby, but you know, things vary, players come and go, so you don't know how tough the lobby would be, but there's still usually a strong lobby, usually the strongest of the week. And here, now Goose is dominating. Goose's points here are up to 95, so the highest we've seen is because now the lobbies have more good players and there's more collisions, and Goose negates all of that. So essentially, defense is now controlling the lobby, and Goose just essentially wins every single Crack Cup. I mean, the only times it hasn't won was the Climb won with Falcon. There's been a time where Rainy won with Fox, which is a huge achievement. And then there was a time Misa won during Ace Weekend. So utilizing Falcon there, but that was also a slower Crack Cup during 1.6. So it was a slower lobby, Falcon's advantage on a good course. So that's where, you know, Falcon can excel. But otherwise, Goose just wins every single time, and it's not even close. And there's Fire Stingray at a 63. And really, if you're not as good as the top rays, you just have zero chance. Like, for the most part, it's a huge accomplishment if you survive all 4 Crack Cup lobbies with Fire Stingray. Only the very top rays can do that. And a lot of times your points suffer. Like, you're not going to get in the high 900s every single time with Stingray. That's like a huge performance that just pretty much doesn't happen. And then Golden Fox. Fox, I mean, part of the problem with Fox is there's really just not many Fox players. It's the hardest to do with 4 straight lobbies. And that's one of the things that holds it back is consistency. But for the most part, I mean, so now you have 4 GPs and you have to, you know, do well in all the races for 4 GPs. I mean, that's just not Fox's game. You know, it can be really good on individual courses, you know, and it seems like it's doing good in GPs, and all of a sudden it's just like, it's gone because, you know, you can't make a mistake with Fox. And then Blue Falcon, actually, I'm going to put it second at 72, just because it has good hybrid skills. It just has a huge problem with defense, especially when I'm playing it. The front bumps are just nasty. They take me out of races. Like, you think you're doing well, then you just get this front bump that's just like, it's so severe that like it slows you down so much and you can't recover from it. And then you get stuck in this weird state of all the people behind you start phasing through you. And so it's like this, you know, chain reaction of just taking you out of the race because you touch someone, you know, and that's hard to deal with. So it's a netcode issue as well. So, and a lot of times even a Falcon is just like someone just touches you and it whips you across the course, sends you into a graze, buries you in the wall, you know, and those problems just don't exist with Goose. So that's just the difficulty of using Falcon, even though Falcon is actually a good machine when nothing bad happens to it. It's just, you know, good luck avoiding the bad things. So these type of lobbies are pretty similar to the 2 Skyway lobbies, except essentially there's just more better players because, you know, it's at these designated times and, you know, it attracts a large amount of player base at prime hours. especially when there's the overlap between North America and Japan. Those are always the toughest lobbies. So let's go see what those look like. Starting off here with Misa playing Falcon on Mirror Deathwind 2. So Mirror King, kind of known as a tougher GP for Falcon. For a lot of different reasons. Obviously, Mirror Mute City 3 has the Sparks lines and Falcon doesn't get the best speed off that. And then in this track, you kind of just get beat up in the pack. So any race that's like that is tough for Falcon. So pretty deep into the pack. But he did get his sparks on time. Sometimes I launch it even a little bit earlier around the bend. But that one was still good. So now it's a return into the pack. But, I mean, he's a little ahead now, but people are going to Skyway over him. Right here. So now the spark collecting begins again. The spin kind of put him in a bad situation. You don't want to be spinning around reds. And the fourth lap is kind of unique in this course. Is like you literally don't need energy for the fourth lap because your Skyway takes you to the refiller. So and he uses it a little different position than most people do. So most people run into the wall and do it, but he got there another zipper because he launched it in a specific spot. And a really good race with Falcon. Second place on a course where Falcon's not so good. Now for Sand Ocean with Wild Goose, played by Nag. So kind of a notoriously difficult course for Goose because of all the turns, and you get really sluggish around the S turn. It's really easy to waste your energy and kind of just, have a slow time here with Goose. So let's see what Nag does to get around that. A super early Skyway. Doesn't even wait to go around the sharp corner here. And a lot of times for these races, you do just want to get out of the pack because you can get chipped down. That's part of the problem with these courses. Like you get stuck in the blender the entire race. You're like, well, I got 3 Skyways, maybe even 4. Like it's possible to get 4. And it's like, well, the whole time you're just getting beat up and chipped down and like depending on golds. Where instead now, he's just in the front here with like preserving his energy and not being chipped down. And this is where you shouldn't boost. There's way too many hazards here. Plus, you actually want to be getting another Skyway. So at this point, you won't be able to out front run them unless you're in a Stingray. So Nag returning to the pack. Pick up really good sparks. And there's a really good launch point. Right before the dirt there, and that takes you into this extension. And that's plenty of energy for a 4th lap. And there we go. First place with Goose on Sand Ocean. And a sub 220. That's not something you see often with Goose. Let's see the official time. So that's a crazy good time there with Goose. And there was something that changed in version 1.7. So in Nag in the first lap, he used his Skyway pretty much right after the refiller, and it went around the bend, and then went all the way around, and got the extension. So now if you use the Skyway before the bend, it's going to drop you right after the sharp hairpin. So that didn't happen before, but whatever happened in the 1.7 changes is now that extension will cut you short if you Skyway before the bend from a minimum distance. Now let's go on Samir Sand Ocean. This is Netoa using Fox. And you can see a delayed start already. Because you really don't want to be stranded on the first lap, so with Fox here, get your sparks early and then work your way out of the crowd. Let's see if you can do that. So really good spark production. He's able to boost out of the bend and get his Skyway. So that's essentially perfect spark management. And now look at the mini-map, you can see the distance he has over everyone else. Because he got that Skyway up really front in the pack. And just a reminder, this is during a GAT lobby. So that first Skyway was enough for no one to be able to catch up yet. And now he's just front running. And like I said earlier, on Sand Ocean with Nag playing, it's just like, you want to reduce your time in the pack and not just like rely on having to get 3 or 4 Skyways, because you're just not going to win the race that way. You're taking too much chip damage. So full energy here on the 4th lap. It's going to be tough patterns to get around, but he was able to navigate it. And just a really strong first lap Skyway into a front run. And a really stacked lobby. So this shows how efficient it is. If you get a really strong first Skyway, and you have the energy and skill to basically time attack the rest of the course, like that's what you should do. Now we're going to do another Fox race. This was actually just the next race here on the GP with Netoa playing on Fox. So Mirror Deathwind 1, one of the scariest courses with Fox. And you can see this is kind of a big sandbag. He really wanted to be in the back of the pack here. And when you're in a super stacked lobby, there should be good spark production and Skyway right around the bend. So not even waiting for the later Skyway, which most people use. Now there won't be any front running, not in this course. So he has to pick up another Skyway. So dealing with tons of collisions. And you can see the use of Skyways there. He went a little too wide and missed the zipper, but that is the Skyway spot. Now he's actually trying to delay the Skyway a little bit because he thought he was too far ahead. And this is where it gets scary. So you're kind of close to rank out, and that's how these Deathwind courses are. Like, if you're playing perfect, you still might be like, you know, very close to being ranked out on every lap because of the pacing. And there's that Skyway again, and with Fox, now you can spam boost the rest of the time. So first place on Mere Deathwind with Fox. So I kind of thought that was an important run to see, because it's really a difficult achievement to do here. It's the worst machine on this course, and getting sub 158 is a really strong run. Let's check out Port Town 1 with Stingray, played by Oliver. So this course I've always found pretty difficult with Stingray because of the glorping. A lot of turn locks in bad places happen, or in the magnet section you get hit in a way that, you know, buries you into a rail or knocks you into a bumper. So navigating your way around the course to not have geese boost into you in the worst time is a pretty difficult thing to do with Stingray. We'll see how he gets around that. It's not the earliest Skyway spot, but a Skyway good enough to take you around the corners here. So it's a good reposition. And he also does some extra health from Mute City 2. We got 2 KOs, but you can see here just how efficient Oliver is with his energy. He's pretty much at full energy. Where a lot of times with Stingray, you're like panic boosting and stuff, and like you get out of the first lap and you're at like 30% energy, and that's an uphill battle from there. And now the optimum Skyway. And is it going to take him past first? And now he passes first. So let's see if he could front run 4th lap. And this is where a lot of times you get taken over. All the 4th lap Skyways and non-stop boosting. A difficult bumper split there. Easily could have been knocked into the bumper. And with his extra energy here, he's now able to, you know, secure the first place. You know, just by preserving all of his energy, and also the 2 extra KOs help, but you can see his energy management is just really good. Enough to front run 4th lap. And there's another ability Stingray can do. It's not exclusive to Stingray, but it's the most effective. So in the opener here, when everyone funnels into each other and it's a dense pack, what can happen is you get pushed into a back bump state, and then you get pushed through everyone. And there it is. And Oliver didn't even spin that time, because usually you hold your spin for the zippers there. And the spin is usually what initiates it. Like someone's in back, if you need to spin, and you just get projected forward, and you get stuck in this back bump state where you're kind of like invincible and glide through everyone. And the opposite could happen in the front bump state. And if you look at this opener, look like it's all choppy, like he's just getting knocked around. And he never gets sent into that back bump flow state. So just chunky, people spinning into him, kind of knocking him backwards. And another attempt on Mere Mute City 2. And this time he's even further back. In no back bump flow state, so he doesn't get the float, and he just keeps falling backwards. And on courses where there's a dense pack anywhere, you can get the float. So back bump, not even boosting, and he's passing everyone right into a Skyway. In a course like Mere Port Town 1, It's a dense pack all the way through, so in the magnets, no boosting, just flying through everyone. That's how important it is to get that back bump float. Now in Mute City 2, you see what happens when he actually gets it? So tight pack, all the way in the back, enters the float, and floats all the way up to the front without a single boost. And with getting the back bump float, it puts you in a really good position to be able to front run as hard as you can and to only have to use one Skyway instead of trying to play for a second one. And Oliver's more than a Stingray main. He's the #1 player in the world on the elite leaderboard. And when he gets the back bump float into a Skyway, he's going to be miles away. And after you get off the Skyway, you have some critical decisions to make. If it's the early laps 1 and 2, is that one Skyway enough to front run the rest of the race? You saw earlier with Daizen, he had to pull back on his first Skyway because he read the lobby and he needed another Skyway to get a good placement. So what will Oliver do after his first Skyway? Will he go back into a pack and try to get sparks for the next one? Or will he front run it? Oliver's ability to get Skyways near the front of the pack give him the opportunity to front run the rest of the course. This is difficult to pull off because you need to have good positioning, spark management, and energy to be able to front run the rest of the course. But some say Oliver is still driving 478 to this day. Now going into the next type of lobby, the Galactic Grand Prix, the hardest lobby there is. And this is where Goose becomes Super Pico. I have Goose here at a 98, which is the highest score yet, because the more crowded the lobby is, the better Goose is. And so defense is just the most important stat, and Goose has by far the best defense. You're pretty much unaffected by anything for the most part. Besides, back bumps can still knock you around and push you like into a wall when you're going around a sharp turn and stuff, but that's with every machine, so I mean, Goose all around is pretty much the unstoppable force in this type of lobby. And Stingray at a 25, but if I'm using it, maybe like a 4, because I mean, when I did GDP with Stingray during version 1.4, it was a comic disaster, really. Just not even basically playing in lobbies. The Stingray is a lot better since, so it's still very difficult to navigate these lobbies with Stingray because of the slow start, the jump pad openers, and just in general, you can't take your lines and you just get pushed around too much. So Stingray is just very, very difficult to use in these type of lobbies. And Fox with a score of 19 is because of the same thing I've been saying all along, consistency. And during the Galactic Grand Prix, the lobbies, you need to get in the pack and get Skyways. And, it's tough enough to do that one race. Now you have to do it for a whole Grand Prix. And then the entire Galactic Grand Prix, which is 8 Grand Prix, it's just not happening. You're not going to win with Fox. It's never going to happen, even with steer assist. Goose is just way too good, and Fox is inevitably going to die. Fox's best performance in the last Galactic Grand Prix was on Ace League. So it's Fox's best league, and they were able to tie for first with a score of 866. So that's by far the lowest score I've ever seen win a lobby. So just everyone got obliterated. So Fox was able to capitalize on its best GP. It's like when Ace comes up and you're a Fox main, you're like, this is my moment. I need to win this GP. So it's good to see 2 Foxes get podium there. And Geese really just kind of failed. They should still win this because of the defense. It's just a little more difficult. Like, I still win 959's cracked or GAT on Ace with Goose. It's not like this huge problem. It's just, with Mute City 4, like, you could get a bad score there. Like, if there's a bunch of Falcons and Foxes, you might not be able to get in the top 20. You still can. Goose could get 2 Skyways and still have a good performance there, and even pick up KOs along the way. But it's just not the most friendly for Goose, and it was good to see Fox get its win there. Now Falcon with a score of 48. I thought it was appropriate to give it kind of half of Goose. Kind of how I feel about it is no one's even 1/10 as good as Goose, but I can't do that. And my performance with Falcon was more of RTS problems. So a lot of it was on me, but I feel like Falcon was a good choice. Like, Falcon is versatile in these lobbies. The starts shouldn't be the problem unless it's the chicane start where you have to get, those zippers, and it's real easy to get knocked off those with Falcon. You get pushed in the dirt and such. So, but for the most part, with the zippers on the openers or the jump pads on the openers, Falcon can position himself really well. So the openers aren't the problem with Falcon. It's more of just badly timed hits. Like, you can easily get knocked out of the refiller with Falcon. Like, no matter how hard you try to get in that refiller, it's such a dense pack, and you take these wild hits, like, you can easily get pushed out of there. And it feels like you just have, you can only boost once per lap because you're taking so much chip damage. So it is more difficult with Falcon for sure than Goose. It's that's not even a question. But I do feel like Falcon does have opportunities to win. Just because it's at a 48, it doesn't mean it can't win a certain GP. It can. And it's a lot more things have to go right though. So if you just get in the right position and everything goes well with Falcon, it'll feel like, Falcon's actually good in Galactic Grand Prix. But until, the next lobby happens and you get smothered. Now let's go check out some Galactic Grand Prix races and also some races from the most recent PWCUP. First off will be Galactic Grand Prix 7 with me using Falcon. So this is the first race of Galactic Grand Prix 7 as we go in order. You can see here I'm trying to position around, the spot. It should be, in 30th place should be where the sparks are. And got bonked around, not picking up sparks. and a late Skyway. So it didn't even get the zipper there. So there's the second choice, we could get the zipper in the dirt, but a little after that. So I'll definitely be getting a third lap Skyway here. And kind of an awkward spot to launch it. So falling short. It seems like what I was trying to do is get a fourth lap Skyway because I felt like I was too far behind. So no golden bumper for me, so I'm not picking up enough sparks to get the fourth lap Skyway. Now my Skyway meter is like 90% full, and my energy is almost depleted. And rank out, because I almost have a full meter. It's the fifth lap Skyway. And that's the last thing you want during a race. So it was just really bad RTS. And that's how you rank out in Mute City. Now let's go to Mute City 3. This is also in Galactic Grand Prix 7. So I failed at Mute City 1. Now let's see how I can do Mute City 3. Getting swallowed up a little bit by the pack. Now you have to use an extra boost because I was too far behind. But this time I get the Skyway sooner, so I get that zipper, and you get the second zipper there, with a tiny bit of an extension. And look at that positioning. Near the front with almost full energy. So that's how big of a difference it is if you get your sparks on time. Nice little extra KO, and I can hold my Skyway for the good Skyway point. Now I'm going to head into the fourth lap with full energy. So boost into there. Mute City's got the long refiller. And now I got the fourth lap in front with boosting all the way through. So from rank out in Mute City 1 to first place on Mute City 3. That's how big of a difference the RTS is. So this is a problem I've been having when main events. I rank out in Mute City a lot. And even the second tracks, like, normally you don't rank out in those tracks, like, there's just not enough good people to make you rank out in the first and second tracks until there's, a main event where, all the top players in the world are all in the same lobby. So what's going on here in Mute City 1, I got a Skyway a little later than normal, and I didn't know how to play out of that. So I went for 3 Skyways, but, the third Skyway never happens, and then you get what's called the 5th lap Skyway, and, you rank out. So this is something that I kind of haven't figured out myself. Like, I don't really know what to do once you're off pattern on Mute City. And, it's caused me so many rank outs. And if if you're in a big event and you rank out on a Mute City, you're losing like, potential 800-900 points. Like, you're out of the tournament. Like, you're done. So, that's a lot of times what happens to me is just like I'm suffering from the easiest tracks just because, I'm just haven't adapted to the flow of this race and what happens if you don't get the RTS you're looking for is like the optimum Skyway. Like I have plan A and plan B. I got to pull off a plan B on Mute City 3 and still got first place, but plan C just I haven't quite figured that out yet. Now a race from PWCUP, so this will be the first race of a mini Prix on Deathwind 1. Misa will have the audio on this race. So spark production's pretty good for both of us. Misa a tiny bit ahead on it. And now it's kind of getting stagnant, and I'm getting chipped down and had to boost. So now Misa's in better position. I launch an early Skyway. Misa holds his. And with that early Skyway, you missed that zipper there. So I was planning on collecting sparks, and that's why I used that Skyway. But the sparks just aren't coming at all. And there's a gold. But it's already too late. Second lap rank out. That's just because I used that bad Skyway to try to pick up another Skyway, but the sparks never came. So it was just a wrong RTS. And Misa here, who held this Skyway, is now in good position for his next Skyway. So Misa launches it in a good spot, so I didn't have my sparks in time in the first lap to do that, because this one drops you before the zipper. And a pretty good outcome there, top 10. So that's it. That's the difference. It's just RTS. So Misa knew the RTS of the lobby, and I tried playing for a Skyway that didn't exist. Let's check out another race in the PWCUP. So this is on Mute City 4. And once again, the audio will be on Misa's side. So generally the strategy on this one is, you get the Skyway at the zippers that goes over the extension. Let's see if I could do that. So I'm a bit behind on sparks here. Still behind on sparks. The Misa's much further up in the pack. So out of desperation, I used it there. I probably would have ranked out. And Misa gets to hold his Skyway, so when is he going to use it? Right at the bend there? So once again, Misa moves up. And he's got a healthy energy bar there. And I have to go to refiller because I'm kind of a little bit low on energy. And once again, my Skyway is just totally off timed. Using it in a terrible place. Avoiding rank out though. And Misa has the 4th lap Skyway at the bend. I got nothing. Misa gets the extension here until the end. Perfectly timed. And I'm just trying to escape rank out. So once again, just happenstance of the situation. Misa got up front, I got stuck in terrible RTS, and I just couldn't work my way out of it. There's no Skyway overlay for the mirror map, but I think everyone kind of knows where that is. And I was just kind of like analyzing this video of a Mind vs. Misa. I'm just like, what could I have done to escape that bad RTS? I wasn't getting it, the Skyways and the sparks where I wanted to. You know, your main plan is like plan A is get that Skyway first lap at the zipper so you get the extension. It's just like, or really now it shows what Misa did is actually really effective. Is like you get up ahead and then you could do a second lap Skyway and a fourth lap Skyway. Because a lot of times what happens in the first lap Skyway is you get caught up in the crowd, then you get a first and third lap Skyway. So there's variables to that as well. Like sometimes the first lap Skyway is good, but maybe it's not even the best. Maybe and there's been times where I do get 3 Skyways on this one in full stacked lobby. So I'm not entirely sure what the total best strategy is. It's just what Misa did worked very well. Could vary by machine, but with Goose, obviously, you'll be going for the 2 Skyways, possibly even 3, but with the spark production I was getting, it just wasn't happening, and I had 2 bad Skyways, and in these stacked lobbies, RTS and Skyways is everything. So, I mean, it's not like I'm even really making racing mistakes. I'm not crashing into reds. I'm not like buried into a wall somewhere. It's just purely spark production and the Skyway timing. And mine just didn't work out. I feel like I got stuck into a position that I couldn't get myself out of. Maybe is that luck? Did I pull the short straw? Possibly. There's a full stack of lobby and, not everyone has an equal opportunity in these lobbies. You're just going to get into bad positions, a bad spark production, and you'll even run over the spark plates and get nothing. So bad things can just happen that are kind of like the feel out of human control. And that race, it just felt like that. I'm just like, I need how do I get out of this race? Now let's head over into a different game mode, the World Tour. Starting with the 1.3 and 1.5 multiplier, which is generally just the 1 Skyway lobbies. Starting off with Goose at a 96. So it's pretty much near perfect in this mode because of the 3 laps, and Goose's energy system works as, it slowly depletes, but, doesn't regenerate. So if there's 1 less lap, essentially it has the energy advantage over every other machine. And really, the only time it's not the best is if you get certain tracks in a certain order. So if you get Sand Ocean or Mute City 4 early, that's when Goose could get beat out. But otherwise, Goose is going to get KOs and essentially end up with infinite energy. So it becomes pretty much unbeatable at that point. And fire Stingray at a 74. So I think this can fluctuate a lot, as Stingray can be really good in this, maybe even up in the 90s, depending on the track order and what track it is. So like I said earlier, like Sand Ocean, if you get that first, Stingray will just completely dominate that, and get 2,000 points while everyone else is kind of straggling behind. And there's other times though where Stingray in these lobbies can't get its first lap Skyway, and you get basically nothing for points to first lap because you just didn't get your Skyway, and it's just a problem depending on that kind of strategy is to get the first lap Skyways, and it's a lot more inconsistent with Stingray than it is Goose. An advantage for Stingray though is the boost combo, as it's what Stingray is known for, is being able to hold speed around corners. So Stingray can just build that up, and if you're just driving clean, you get a lot of boost combo, and you don't really have to depend on getting a ton of KOs. A lot of times you could do fine. Default Stingray isn't horrible. You just got to get your Skyways at the right time, and then just hold your boost combo. So Stingray is good circumstantially. There are some things that can hold it back from being great, but if everything goes well with Stingray, it will be a really solid machine here. And Golden Fox at 82, so it's pretty good. It's still reliant on Skyways, which are easily missed with Fox, a lot of times you can kind of delay it until second lap. So, you could kind of just push forward. You won't get first place to first lap, obviously, if you do that, but you could get second lap. The only problem with that is, depending on some courses, like, you really don't want to be skywaying in certain spots second lap. You'll just skyway over gem spawns. So, that's also something to keep in mind, and why the first lap skyway is so good, because the skyway generates sparks too, and there's a lot less gems on the track on lap 1. And a lot of the spawns on lap 2 are like, heavy spawns that you don't want to skip while you're on a skyway. And getting KOs with Fox is really important. Default Fox is kind of bad, so you do want to farm a bit. I mean, ideally, like, you farm and play at the same time, but sometimes you could just sacrifice the first race and, try to get as many as possible. And really, if you're sacrificing a race, you want like 3 minimum. Then you could really play out of that, and it's easier to farm after that point. And that's where Fox takes off and becomes, the second best. This is once Fox gets going with KOs, then it can actually race with Goose. And Blue Falcon here at a 70, it's pretty much the worst. Pretty much the worst at everything in this mode. I don't like how it plays at all. Most notably is the front bumps knock it off boost combo. And that's not really an issue for the other 3 machines, not much, because Goose is like, freight train that just, knocks everyone out of the way. Stingray can hold this combo really well, doesn't get as much of that knockback problem. And Golden Fox uses his boost to keep the boost combo. And then there's this, Blue Falcon that just loses his combo all the time because of front bump collisions. And with Falcon, I feel like I need 3 KOs to even start being in competition with the other machines. And for the most part, really like 5 KOs to feel confident enough to compete to try to get podium. I don't feel like it just could compete. Like, even 3 KOs, like, now you're basically equivalent to default Goose, except you're still a worse machine. So, I mean, 5 is kind of when it takes off and, like, you have the extra energy to boost more. And, it's just, overall, it's a bad machine. Like, it's hard to get KOs. It has, bad boost energy management because, of how this system plays out. And, there's really no advantage you have to being Falcon in this mode. And before we go into the 1.5 multiplier, let's go into more information about the World Tour. So let's talk about lobby strength. One of the most important factors to getting a high score is lobby strength, which is how good the players are in the lobby, not my players total. A 1.3 lobby can have more top tier players than a 1.5 weak lobby. This is just happenstance and a significant factor of how points you could likely score. In a true stack lobby, the scores that win are much lower because you won't be getting a high lap score all 3 laps. You cannot just do the 1 lap Skyway front run. It has become common for the top scorer of the week to have been done in the first few hours of the World Tour cycle. Begins because these lobbies are 1.5, but not a stacked lobby with top tier players. It will most likely fall into the category of top heavy. So if you're playing for the leaderboard in this mode, like, it's so circumstantial. Like, you have to play at a certain time, and there's certain people going to be playing at that time. And really, no one's getting the highest score during, like, events and stuff or streams. Like, if you join the main streams like a Flan Gat or like the Cracked Cup when this is happening, the scores are like 1,000 points lower, if not more. Just because with that much competition, like, you can't get your share of the lap points. Like, you're not going to be getting first point laps all 3 laps, and it's just much more difficult. People are, taking your grays and all that stuff. So you have to get lucky just on who's around at what time. And for track selection, the track selection, as far as we know, is random. Certain courses are much better for scoring, so it is an important factor of which tracks in what order. Farming for KOs in the first course is highly effective. If you get a course where the bumper pattern makes it difficult to farm KOs, then it could be set back to attempt farming. Machine track combination plays this factor as well. Stingray can start off a World Tour very strong if Stingray type courses come up early, while the other machines aren't stacked with KOs yet. The finale tracks vary in points possible by a lot. Silence and Mirror Silence are low points. Whiteland 2 and Firefield Original Mirror are 2K possible, but are difficult to score that high because of the competition. Silence 2 and Mirror Silence 2K is possible, but if you're racing, and in a 3K possible if you drive in circles until you time out. And we all know what that means, which is why the leaderboard and points don't matter. All right, let's go back to the World Tour 1.52 Skyway lobby. So this is where it gets super difficult. Like you can't get by with the one Skyway anymore because the tracks are, so stacked, and the front run after the first Skyway just doesn't hold. And this is where Goose just dominates more than it could possibly dominate anything. It's pretty much unstoppable in this mode. I have it at 99. The only reason it's not 100 is because, track specialists like Fox and Stingray can have some times where it's better. Otherwise, Goose is pretty much in God mode in this in the World Tour once it gets this stacked. Now Stingray here at a 40, so a sharp decline. I feel like just the sparks and gaining the Skyways at the right time just is so inconsistent that I can't give it a good score. Even though it's not like really that bad, if things go right, it's not terrible. But the problem is, it's just like you get a lot of jump pad starts because it's random. Each track, you have the option of you get either type of opener. And if you just get a series of jump pad openers in the wrong tracks, you're just not going to do well with Stingray. And then with Geese getting a bunch of KOs, you're just going to get overran. So, it's really difficult with Stingray in this mode. It still is, you could possibly win, but so many things need to go right for you to win with Stingray. And Fox being second best with a 55. And really the problem with Fox is just it's inconsistent at getting KOs and it gets overpowered in these lobbies. Like before in the lesser lobbies like 1.3 and stuff, the grays aren't crowded as much, and you don't get pushed out of the way, and you have more opportunities to hit the gray. But in this one, the grays are swarmed, and it's more difficult to get into that hit and to get that last hit on the gray to get the KO. And a lot of times the pack just swallows you up still. I mean, you still are Fox, and but when you do get KOs and stuff and things go well, Fox is fine, but to get to that point is the difficult part. And Falcon usually has the same problems. It's just you are so dependent on KOs with Falcon. Don't even try playing default Falcon in these type of lobbies. Just sacrifice your first race, possibly even a second race to get KOs, because you're pretty much worthless and non-competitive with Falcon until you get those KOs. Now let's head off into the World Tour and see how it plays out. I'm gonna join the lobby as soon as it opens. A slow filling lobby, but some people are dripping in. Let's see what we can make it up to. It's 1.45, not too bad. And this is a track I really don't like starting on, Mirror Red Canyon 1. It seems to always show up first. It's just, I have a really difficult time in farming on this one. There's a lot of those grays on weird pathing. It's hard to get them at a time where you have an opportunity to get good hits on them. And these are the grays you want to hit. So unfortunately my hit wasn't the finish. Got one. No first lap Skyway though. And these grays aren't being touched enough, so I don't even risk going after them. Unfortunately, a bad miss there. But I do have a Skyway now. Now I can boost to the end. But I ended myself, so just really bad driving there, and I'm out of the event already. And with that death, I get sent back to the main menu, where I have to wait over a half hour for the next World Tour to start. Every Frozen World Tour cycle is 40 minutes, so since I got eliminated in the first race, I've had a long wait, but now I'm ready to try again with Golden Fox. Let's check out this lobby. It's a 1.5. Starting with near Red Canyon 1 again. So even though I don't like trying to farm on this course, because of how the grade pathing works, I'm still going to try to get some with Fox, because I cannot play in these lobbies as default Fox. And the opener there, you see I take the long way to gather the gems. So I'm starting with 66 already, and sometimes you can even have more than 80. Just missing that one. So you gotta know which set of grays you're gonna go for. So those ones I always go for. You can see there, that's why I talked about Fox and KOs before. In these crowded lobbies, you can just get pushed around. Luckily able to get that one. And another lucky one. Now I get the Skyway out of there. And just couldn't get that player KO. So 2 KOs, kind of a low base score, but you know, I'd consider that kind of a somewhat decent run in this crowded lobby, getting 2 KOs. Going into Port Town 1. So this one's always really difficult with Fox. I mean, it's a difficult one in general, but with Fox, it just makes it more difficult. And I always go for that gray, but unfortunately it wasn't time for it to explode. And now I'm kind of getting beat up too much. I'm losing too much energy. I'm falling behind. So I'm in bad positioning. And can't secure that gray either. So this is a disaster race. And here, like even though it's a good Skyway, you Skyway over a ton of gem spawns. Missing 2 grays there, just couldn't get them. And just getting the Skyway to get out of this race. Like nothing went right the entire race. And you take those chances on Port Town 1, going after those grays, and if it doesn't pay off, like, your score is just terrible because you keep falling behind, and that was the whole race. Now luckily Mute City 4 was in this track selection, so it doesn't seem like it even comes up much. I don't know how like the rotation works of which tracks get picked, but I don't see Mute City 4 often, and luckily I'm Fox. And a pretty good opener. I can just front run. I was able to overtake the Falcon, so I get my 200 lap points. And this race is just a breeze. Just nice and easy front run. Bit of a danger there. Maybe could have died there, so lucky break. But look at those base points. So Mute City 4 saves me. Now going from 29th all the way to 5th. Now I'm still only on 2 KOs. So Mute City 4 is great for points, but you know, this is a long haul of the event, and I need more KOs to compete. Oh no, that is trouble. But now, since I made that mistake, I was trying to front run, which you can do on the Whiteland 1, original and mirror, especially with 2 KO Fox. But now I'm just gonna see if I can pick up Grays. Trying to hold my boost combo there. You don't want to rank out, so I do need to hustle. So even though I didn't get the, the front run that I wanted, picking up some KOs in this race was good. We could just ignore what happened there. Oh, unfortunately missing a player KO and a Gray. That would have been huge getting those both. So low base points again, but 3 KOs. So I guess that sacrifice would be worth it in the long run. Now going into Big Blue 2, so I'm really glad to be sitting on 5 KOs now. Still doing the sandbag start. Just want to get the Skyway as early as possible. Like I said, in these openers there, I go that route to get gems. I'm already at 86. Just missing the zipper and entry, so I need to launch it a tiny bit sooner. Utilizing my extra energy now, so I'm able to stay close to the front, picking up good lap points. holding a boost combo pretty much the entire race now. There we go. So that's a good score. First place in the race in points. Going into Mirror Deathwind 2. So no sandbag. On this course, I'm actually going to go for the front run. I think I have enough energy to do it. So far in the lead. Still managed to pass him there and get my 200 points. Getting dangerous there. So not front running all the way, but you know, that's still a good front run overall and a lot of points. And enough to take first place for that race. Going into Mirror Sandstorm 1. So on this course, you play for the first lap Skyway at the spark line. Let's see if I can pull that off. Just barely got the Skyway on time. And sometimes if you go over the spark plates, you just don't get the sparks, which I've definitely done before, where you boost into the sparks and like you get nothing and then you just go straight into the wall thinking you have a Skyway. Didn't want to hit the jump plate there, so I slowed myself down. So second place, but still a good race overall. Really good timing on the spark management in the first lap. And first in points again. So you see how quickly the tide changed once I got to 5 KOs. And there's less players in the lobby as well. Now from Mirror Firefield, there's a lot of different strategies, but for the most part, the one I've had the most success with is just doing the normal play. Like you build up your Skyway, except you'd want to get it on the second lap instead of trying to hold it for the last lap. And the nice thing with Fox here is I could replenish my health a lot. I missed the boost combo hold there. It's kind of tough to do with Fox, but it's doable. Goro playing Minesweeper. And a really well-timed Skyway there. So I was up all the way into the pack, and now I'm in first place, and I could front run it. And this time I was able to hold the boost combo. I maybe shouldn't have boosted there because I boosted past the gem spawn. So on the last lap there, that section spawns a decent amount of gems. Still an overall solid race. Anything over 1200 base points is pretty good. And for the last race, Silence 2. So this is definitely a front run track. Double boost and triple boost to get ahead. And I do think it's better to go on the right side of the mines, though I don't want anyone else doing it with me, so you all can go in the middle and I'll go on the right. And it's interesting on finales, the Super Rival is like cracked as hell. It's so fast, like you can lose to it. Not even slowing down for reds. Now I'm kind of low on energy, but I'm just going to take this slow and gather my gems. And there goes Goro, at least making it easier for me to get by. So that's a pretty good front run. And I picked up my gems, so like I wasn't taking the shortcut jump. I wanted to maximize my score. Sometimes that can hold you back, but overall, I was able to maintain the lead because I had so much energy. And now you see what someone else does. So the D-Gen gets a ton of more points. You know, and this is generally how it goes. It's just like Fox in the first few like courses, since it's so crowded and dense, it's so hard to do anything. But once I got my KOs, I was able to break out and just dominate the lobby. And I was lucky that Mute City 4 came up in this track selection, you know, so that's kind of a huge break for me. I got so much more points than everyone else, and that kind of carried me to the win here. So I mean, track selection does certainly matter. Now let's check out a Frozen World Tour with the best machine, Wild Goose. Lobby filling up fast. This is going to be a good one. Smear Deathwind 1 comes up a lot is the first race, and with Goose, it's not really a problem. You just gotta, you know, get a well-timed first Skyway. If you don't, though, then you're in trouble. I'm just going to plow over everyone. And those grays are good to pick up there. I always go for them. So I didn't get my first lap Skyway. And now I'm just farming. So I got kind of bailed out there. I didn't get the optimal Skyway, but I've just been going hard at the grays and getting them. Not that time. So if I didn't have KOs, I'd be dead. So that's how critical those were to this race. And now I get a good Skyway to finish the race. So 3's pretty lucky to get in a race like a stacked race like that and to get 3 KOs. So that was really good. And jumping ahead here to the next race, you can see how I'm going to try to farm Big Blue 2. So I consider this probably the best farming track in the game. You get a lot of these straightaways and you get pick up grays. Unfortunately, sometimes just, contacting them and missing. So even though this is generally the best place to farm, I just picked up 2 only and sacrificed a race where you score a lot of points. So it's kind of a failure. But 2 still be manageable because sometimes you try farming and you get 0, and that's a real bad feeling. And now during these races, I really don't want to be sacrificing a race, so I'll just pick up KOs while I can. So I have energy to spare and I can make moves like that. But sometimes you just screw up, mine into a red. And now in a race like this on Mirport Town 2, I can 1 Skyway and front run. Not letting Ike have that. And this is where the sacrifice starts paying off. So I cost myself some points early with some bad farming on Big Blue 2, but still some KOs, and now it's all added up. And I could front run Mirport Town 2. And only dealing with Chelu Guam here, who knows how many KOs he has boosting into double hairpins like that. This lobby started off as a 1.5 insta lobby. Now it's just 1 versus 1 with Chelu Guam. We are the 2 strongest geese and nothing can stop us. And that's how I play Goose in these lobbies. We saw it with Fox as well. build it up and then I start succeeding afterwards. But the building up process, isn't easy, and sometimes you come up short. Some events you just get 0 when you're building up, and it's kind of a bust. When a strategy is relying on grays, it can be frustrating because of the net code. And the grays, like, sometimes you just warp through them when they're smoking, or they just like disappear because the game can't really track the other players taking them. Like, someone could have took it like a second ago, but then you still think it's there and you boost into it and it just disappears. So that's what makes this process so inconsistent and risky. So that pretty much covers all the types of lobbies, starting with the dead lobbies, even as much as just 2-player lobbies. And the strategies change for all these, and it's important to know which machine to be for which track, and like what the RTS is going to be depending on the situation. It gets really complicated, and unless you are familiar with this and you gain experience by repetitions, like, you're just going to make mistakes by not judging the situation correctly and doing the wrong RTS, and it's costly. You can't win if you do the wrong RTS. Now, there is one more thing I want to discuss. Today in F099, Misa wins. Misa in main events just keeps getting stronger. First place in PWCUP 3, then Galactic Grand Prix 6, first place again, then in his own event, first place by a lot, over 1,000 points. And then Japan vs. World, he only lost because of a crash out in Mirmute City 4, and then returns with the first place again, Galactic Grand Prix 7. And then the most recent event, PWCUP Final, he got first place again. So how is Misa doing this? These main events have all the best players in the world competing against each other, and he just keeps winning. And so this is where the game gets complicated, and knowing the RTS is critical. You can see in the runs where I failed, I just didn't get Plan A or Plan B with my Sparks and Skyway, and I didn't know how to adjust from the lobby from there. Well, Misa, he knows Plan A through Z. He knows every situation and the flow of every race, how not to rank out. Because there's these critical points of rank out in each track and timings. So when you're playing these main events with all the best players, you can rank out any lap. So you need to know when you can hold a Skyway, or when you should just launch a Skyway for repositioning. And that's where I failed. My repositioning strategy left me ranked out because it wasn't good enough to get through that lap. And that's like how Misa escapes all these situations. So he's always in better position and always doing a better RTS with his Skyways. And that's how he avoids rank outs, and that's how he seems like he's never in trouble at any time, because he's just utilizing the Skyways and Spark management better than everyone else. So how do you defeat Misa? Well, you need to know every RTS in the game for every situation, or it's just not going to happen. And if you're in an elite top 1,000, you probably have what it takes to beat Misa, except your RTS is failing. And you can't win without RTS. You can't drive your way to win in this game. It is around Skyways. And that's where Misa just excels above everyone else. Like, if you know how to utilize every single situation to your advantage, like, you're not going to get in the bad situation that causes people to rank out or crash out. Because there's a lot of bad situations the game could put you in. I do feel like there's some kind of strange Misa phenomenon, though. It's like Misa does have plot armor. There's something unique about what happens during his races. It doesn't feel like it happens when I'm playing. Like, we all watch him on Twitch, and they're like, I'll just copy that, that works, he's winning. Then it just doesn't work for you. So there's a lot of just hidden intangibles. I remember all the way back in 1.0 when I was trying to learn all the machines. I was wondering how Supahguy was winning with Falcon, which is an obvious bad machine. So I was watching his stream, and then I was just like, he's not doing anything. I don't get it. So he was playing this machine, Falcon, that him and only Kleinman were really succeeding with, at least in North America and Europe. And it was just, then you had to figure out, how is him seemingly doing nothing so much better than me playing? This is where the game's complicated, the RTS. So he was doing something. He was playing according to the pace of the race. and knowing where to be at the right time, and getting sparks at the right time, and using the best Skyway. So you see him just driving, and it's like, well, he's, everyone's just driving. It's not complicated. But he's in the right place at the right time, and that's the most important part of this game. And that's 99 in a nutshell. We covered the dead lobbies, the 1 Skyway lobby, 2 Skyway lobby, then into the more difficult lobbies with Cracked Cup, Get, and Flan, and then the main events, Galactic Grand Prix and PWCUP. I hope this video helps you understand the real-time strategy of this game, how you end up failing, and how you can succeed. I'm still learning from every race, and playing this game mostly just on the weekends with the good lobbies and the events is always a good time, and I hope I'll still see you around in the lobbies.